Hello and welcome back to Mystery Shots. Because of the chemical waste that humans have dumped into the oceans, a white shark in Puerto Rico has developed an extremely unusual and bizarre type of genetic mutation. The animal was born with 4 heads in a row and an extra one in place of a tail, making it a true mutant. The monster shark is much larger than a common white shark, and due to its exaggeratedly large size, the animal requires more than 300 pounds of food per day, totaling 55 tons per year. But to the desperation of bathers, the monster shark's favorite snack is human flesh. A group of people on a speedboat are taking advantage of the beautiful, clear waters in the region where the giant predator usually hunts. As the group takes photos, a hungry shark is lurking nearby, but before it even has a chance to do anything, it is brutally devoured by a colossal 5-headed animal on the vessel. One of the crews notices the blood stain in the water and alerts the rest of the group, who rush to the edge to photograph the huge shark as it approaches at high speed and devours all the bathers. With the disappearance of the group, the local authorities were summoned upon arrival at the speedboat. Sterling, the police captain, begins looking for people until he discovers a camera next to a large amount of blood on the ground. In search of clues, the officer begins looking through the photos, which appear to be normal until he comes across some disturbing images of a 4-headed mutated shark. To determine whether the photographs are genuine, the officer decides to take them to the city aquarium and consult with Dr. Yost, a marine biologist specializing in sharks. She is being observed by some interns while operating on a fish. The officer then requests to speak with the woman, who, after cleaning herself, walks to the more reserved director's room so they can talk in private. The officer shows her the pictures of the animal and asks if something like that could exist, or if it is a fake image. Despite the rarity, Dr. Yost believes the photograph is genuine, but is coerced by Marshall. The aquarium's director stated that she has never seen anything like that and that the chances of such an animal surviving to adulthood are slim because in all similar cases she studied, the shark died within a few months of birth. Marshall decides to hunt the animal to put it on display in the aquarium to attract more tourists and thus make more money, but because he can't do it alone, he forces the doctor and the other interim biologists to go with him to hunt down the mutant shark. At first, the team refuses to participate in the search, but the marshal threatens to fire them if they don't. When the group arrives in the area of the attacks, they are forced to accept. The interns prepare the bait and begin monitoring marine activity in anticipation of any activity from the mutated fish. After a few minutes with no sign, Marshall says they should have brought a puppy to use as bait because it would surely attract the shark's attention. After a while, the bait finally attracts the animal, which begins swimming around them and eats one of the surveillance cameras. Despite several signs that the mutated shark is nearby, they are unable to locate it, and after some time on the lookout, the shark jumps on the boat and grabs one of the interns who was close to the edge. Shark pulled him into the water and devoured his body, beginning with his legs. With the man dead, the team abandons the hunt and returns to shore. Captain Sterling goes to the interns to collect their statements. The group then reports that the animal that attacked their friend resembled a shark, but with multiple heads, and that they believe this attack is related to the incident with the bathers the day before. The officer then shows the photo of the animal and the young people. With the statements gathered and proof that the creature really did kill their friend, the police depart. Marshall then takes advantage of the time alone with Dr. Yost to coerce her into going after the animal again. Not satisfied with the meal, a few minutes after the attack, the bloodthirsty shark begins to circle a fishing boat attempting to catch crabs, intent on quenching its thirst for blood. The mutated fish attacks the boat with its multiple heads, causing it to turn and, as a result, dropping the entire crew into the water, where they are devoured. Marshall tries to persuade the interns to return to the hunt in a few moments in the lab, but they all refuse, and they are once again forced to participate in order to keep their jobs. However, this time the group believes it is preferable to be accompanied by someone with prior experience in this type of situation. They are, after all, biologists, not hunters. Dr. Yost knows the perfect person for the job and decides to enlist his assistance. That person is Red, an experienced and well-prepared shark hunter equipped with sonar and other tools such as sedatives and harpoons that will help in the capture of the mutated animal. As the group prepares to hunt on a coral reef a few kilometers away, researchers are on a dive making reports on the reduction of marine life in the region due to cyanide and other chemical compounds, but unfortunately for them, the group is right in the hunting zone. When one of the researchers leaves the group to examine the back of the reef, she ends up being brutally devoured not far away. A group of tourists is on a tour of the waters, admiring the marine life when a massive humpback whale appears next to them. By the beautiful animal, the travelers begin taking photographs, but are interrupted when the monster shark appears and begins attacking the giant mammal, easily killing it. The tour guide picks up the radio and requests assistance from the Coast Guard, and is met by Captain Sterling, who gathers his team and runs towards the location because he is tuned into the same frequency. Red also receives the call for help on the radio and believing that it is his target. He goes to the location to assist in attracting the animal. While Red prepares his harpoon with a locator on the spear, the interns begin throwing bait into the water. So if something goes wrong and the predator flees, they will be able to track it. However, the travelers make it to the docks before the worst happens. As soon as the boat stops, the attacks also cease and the animal disappears from sight. Captain Sterling arrives with some other police officers at that precise moment and begins looking for the shark, which suddenly resurfaces and begins swimming towards them. When the officers see the massive fish, they begin shooting and are even shot. The monster manages to jump out of the water and grab one of the police officers on the dock. After one more meal, the insatiable mutant still wants more and swims in the direction of the bait the interns have thrown. The monster jumps out of the water and snaps the young girl. Red takes his harpoon and shoots the shark in the heart that swallows the girl's body as if it were a small appetizer. Captain Sterling clears the beaches that were off limits after concluding that the shark could not have survived a harpoon shot to the heart. He also pays a visit to the aquarium staff, congratulating them on finally killing the creature with the beaches cleared. The locals can hold the annual surfing competition, but they didn't expect the shark to be more alive than ever. The animal appears on the beach and begins a real carnage, devouring several panicked surfers. One of the trainees is upset with Marshall because his two friends died as a result of his actions. Everyone on the team would still be alive if the lunatic hadn't forced them to hunt the animal. Angry at the man saying it was his fault, the young man pursues him, but is stopped by Red, and after the scuffles die down, a police officer rushes to the scene and informs Captain Sterling of the attack on the surfing championship. Dr. Yost devises a strategy knowing that sharks despise dolphins. She intends to use the mammal's sound through loudspeakers to lure the animal into a location containing police-supplied dynamite bait that will explode as soon as it is ingested, with everything ready to carry out the plan. The group divides into two boats, and while the biologists use sonar to locate the shark, the police start throwing speakers into the water to guide the animal to the cove as a final step before they begin. Captain Sterling requests that all beaches be evacuated due to the closure of coastal traffic on Red's boat. As soon as the shark appears on the sonar, the crew begins to throw the bait into the water and turns on the loudspeakers. The officer realizes he is on the wrong track and decides to use the boat to corner him, but the animal is extremely intelligent and hides under the boat, too close for detection devices to locate him while looking for the shark. The policewoman who is accompanying the captain starts looking around for it, but when she can't find it, she decides to go to a higher point on the boat to get a better visual range, and then hangs out on the outside, attempting to get to the front of the boat, but the mutated shark swims to the bottom and then begins to rise quickly. The policewoman was knocked down after colliding with the boat. When Captain Sterling notices his co-worker in the water, he rushes to the edge and begins firing at the creature in an effort to scare it away. However, the creature is not only intelligent and insatiable, but also appears to be armored and is unharmed. The shark attacks. While one of the heads devours the upper part of the body, the head that replaces the tail fin devours the lower part of the policewoman. After the meal, the insatiable mutant begins chasing the officer's boat, which radios for help and decides to kill the damn thing while speeding as fast as possible to survive. The cop exits the boat, which is speeding towards the cove, and runs to the back, where he begins firing several shots before realizing that they are insufficient. The man then takes some explosives and begins throwing them into the water in an attempt to kill the animal, but even the dynamite is ineffective. The enraged shark then headbutts the back of the vessel, destroying the propellers and rendering the officer unable to move as his plan to transport him to the base fails. Captain Sterling begins by dropping bombs into the water to guide the animal in the right direction, and then turns on the speakers, making him extremely uncomfortable in order to escape the sound. The evil fish starts swimming towards the cove, but in the middle of the journey, it scrapes against a rock. The harpoon with the locator falls and checks the monitoring equipment. Dr. Yost notices that the animal has stopped moving and has no idea where the creature is. They start moving the bait to attract it there, but when they see the fin in the water, they end up attracting a common white shark. The group begins to prepare, and as soon as the predator takes the bait and moves far enough away from the boat, Red activates the detonator, tearing the poor shark to pieces, convinced that they have finally put an end to that bloodthirsty beast. The group begins to celebrate, But at the bottom of the ocean, the mutated creature begins to devour the remains of its little brother. This animal is simply insatiable after eating the meal. The shark headbutts the boat's propeller just as it did the policeman's boat. Red then informs Captain Sterling of the damage, but with both boats damaged, there's nothing they can do but wait for the air support requested by the officer. While they are waiting, the shark attacks the boat again and knocks one of the interns down. Employee dives into the water, determined to save her, and the two begin swimming back to the boat. At the same time, they are being pursued by the monster, who is closing in on them. Marshall fires the harpoon, striking one of the heads. The only issue is that the rope attached to the shark ends up wrapping around his leg, pulling him into the water where he ferociously is devoured by the mutant. Red takes several weapons that he kept hidden on the boat and distributes them to the group. As soon as the shark approaches again, they start shooting at it, which, despite being injured, remains alive and runs away. The rescue helicopter approaches at that precise moment and begins to lose altitude in order to reach the boat, and when it is only a few meters away, the shark jumps to a height of more than 20 meters and snaps the aircraft in midair, knocking it down into the water and causing a massive explosion on impact at the bottom of the ocean. We can see that the destroyed helicopter crashed on top of the unconscious creature, but it will still be alive once the animal regains consciousness and begins moving again. The crew realizes that, despite all of his injuries, the shark is still alive, so Red takes his last explosives and attaches them to a massive hook. The man jumps out of the boat as soon as the predator approaches. On top of the shark, he inserts the hook into the animal's dorsal fin, and after a few seconds of no movement in the water, a large explosion occurs, resulting in a massive blood stain on the back. A few meters away, the crew begins to worry, looking for signs of Red, thinking he sacrificed himself to finish off the creature. But a few seconds later, the man emerges and climbs into the boat, where everyone rejoices for finally killing the damn five-headed mutant shark. Like and comment your thoughts about this mystery shot. And don't forget to subscribe Mystery Shots for more such content.